Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Ashlyn Jones. I am doing my Think Aloud number 2 with my revisions over Edgar Allan Poe's poem of the Telltale Heart. I realized in my first Think Aloud that a lot of my thoughts were lectury or just kind of straight to the point, and I really want to add some more comments about what I'm thinking, go more into detail, do some underlining, and then continue with picking out my literary elements and highlighting those accordingly to what they are. So again, just a preview of my lesson. This is for a 7th grade English class. And we're going over literary elements. We would already have defined and introduced the topic of specific elements that we're looking for, and then we're just exploring this poem. I'm also wanting to go more into detail because the poem is kind of hard to read. It has a lot of complicated vocabulary, and so I just want to pinpoint out and give an example to my students of how I would react to that and what I would do when I stopped at these words. So this is The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease has sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. Okay, acute. I wonder what the author means by this. This is not a word that we hear normally. I know acute means small, like an acute angle. I'm reflecting kind of to that math term. But I may need to do some more research on that, such as just looking up the definition to really figure out what he means there. Not really too familiar with that. I'm just going to underline this word so I know to come back to it. I heard all the things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Here again. And above, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. So I imagine, just a big bird, like an eagle. He's using a vulture, and you know how the birds just kind of stare at you, or it's just kind of like a blank expression, and it's kind of piercing and looking directly at you, kind of scares you a little bit. I think this is what the author is picturing in his mind. I know that this is an example of symbolism because he is giving a normal object a bigger meaning. He's just talking about an eye, but he is saying that it's like piercing. It's obviously something deeper to this author. Something, it's affecting him somehow. So I'm going to highlight this portion blue because it is an example of symbolism. Okay. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. I imagine that this is an example of foreshadowing. I predict that the next portion of the poem is either going to be telling me why he wants to kill the old man or how he did it. I know that foreshadowing is an author's use of hints or clues to suggest the next events, and that's very evident. He's like, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man. Okay, so we must know further why he's doing this or how he's going to do this. I predict that there will be more information further along in this poem. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, in what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night about midnight I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh so gently. And then when I made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. The author is using a lot of good, detailed, describing vocabulary. He's repeating words to make more of an emphasis. I turned the latch of his door. He's being very detail oriented, so I can visually picture. I'm visually picturing, the guy just unlatching it and pushing it open. Just a small amount, just so the lantern can go in. I think that's a great way for the reader to. I can really see what is happening right now. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously, oh so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. So again, he's comparing the normal eye to vulture. I wonder why he's doing this. I wonder what the old man did to him that the eye is making him so irate. And I did this. I'm just going to highlight this part. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, so it was impossible to do the work for the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Okay, so I'm just reflecting on what I've read so far. I'm hearing a lot of I undid it. I found the eye. It was for me. Clearly, I think this poem is written in the first person, and the narrator is telling the story. The events are happening to him. He's giving great detail of what's going on in his head and what he's doing. So not only are we hearing what he's actually doing, what's going on, but we're hearing his thoughts and what's going on through his head and why he's committing his actions. So I'm just going to highlight that one purple to highlight the clue of the point of view of the story. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he has passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man, indeed, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. I wonder if 12 o'clock has any indication. Why is it always at 12 o'clock? Interesting. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in the opening of the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. That's a new word for me. I'm just going to underline this one as well, because I definitely need to go back and find the definition of this word, because I'm not familiar with it. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he had moved on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch, with a thick darkness, for the shutters were closed, fastened through fear of robbers. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And so I have now modeled my Think Aloud. I've modeled going through this poem and picking out the literary elements, and now I'm going to allow my students to do the same. They will get with a partner, continue reading the poem, and highlight, identify words they don't know, and just really explore this poem to really see how the literary elements bring out more of the story. They're not just saying it was because of his eye. He compared the eye to a bird, and he went into detail of what it looks like. It has a film over its pale blue. It clearly gave me a picture in my mind. And that is what literary elements do. It provides a deeper meaning of the story. It allows me to see the effect of the meaning of the piece. And so it helps me determine the purpose of the writing, and then it's important to help me understand the story. Okay, thank you. That was my Think Aloud number 2.